20 years ago, I stumbled upon a rule that completely flipped my life and work on its head. It's called the 95/5ths rule, and I first heard about it rubbing shoulders with some seriously successful billionaires, the kind you probably know. I've personally used this rule to go from burning out, working 100 hours a week, and ruining all my relationships, to building my dream life, a beautiful family, access to resources like private planes and cars, and even mentoring hundreds of kids in my local community. So, with that being said, let's talk about the 95/5ths rule. The 95/5ths rule. What it is. The 95/5ths rule means that 95% of your results come from only 5% of your efforts. Think about it like this. Imagine your life is a boat on the ocean, cruising along, and then bam! You hit a rock. Now, water is gushing in. Most people, they just grab a bucket and start frantically bailing. But the people who truly win in life, the 5%, they spend their time trying to figure out where the freaking hole is and how to plug it. Years ago, I hired a brilliant marketer for a business that was pulling in about $3 million a year. This person was super talented, said all the right things, and everyone was buzzing with excitement about them hitting the ground running. 6 months later, we had to let them go. Why? Because instead of stopping and doing the deep analysis, instead of figuring out what was actually wrong, they just started getting busy doing things. They lacked the discipline to do the audit, to pinpoint the problems, and then the discipline to say no to the noise so they could focus on what would truly move the needle. The 95/5ths rule is like the 80/20ths rule, the Pareto principle, but on steroids. It essentially eliminates the illusion of productivity by asking, what's the one thing that, if you knock it out of the park, will be like a massive domino, knocking everything else down and getting things moving? If you're truly growing, 95% of your calendar is going to look completely different in a year. That's how you know you're making progress. If you're still doing the same stuff you did last year, chances are you're missing the mark. How to find your 5%. This brings us to the crucial question, how do you find your 5%? You need to have a direction. How can I focus on the right 5% if I don't know where I'm going? If I don't know what the target looks like, how am I supposed to hit it? People often ask me, how do you prioritize? How do you figure out the 5%? How do you really focus? My answer is simple. If I know where I'm going, then I can ask myself, does this decision get me closer to that target? Without clarity of vision, it can feel overwhelming, it can feel hard. A lot of people even get depressed because they lack clarity. A confused mind can't move forward. If I don't know what I'm trying to do, how am I supposed to make the right decision? Think about some of the greatest minds of our time. Bill Gates knew his vision early on. I want a personal computer in every home. Mark Zuckerberg literally said from the beginning, I want to build a metaverse. Elon Musk, the whole world, if you follow him for like 5 seconds, knows his #1 priority in life is colonizing Mars. And that's why he started every one of his companies. Think about that. Most people don't realize Starlink, Boring Company, the AI, Optimus robots, Tesla's self-driving cars, the whole infrastructure for colonizing Mars is built through every one of his businesses. Isn't that crazy? That's the 5%. Even his involvement with Dogecoin was him saying, if I don't help save our economy, all the businesses I've created within that economy could be at risk. I'll go spend 90 days helping solve that problem so then I can get back to building electric cars. So think about it this way. The clarity of your vision, what you see, determines the quality of your decisions. If you're clear, your decisions are awesome. Your blueprint for finding the 5%. Here's what you want to do. 1. Dream big. People ask me all the time, if you could go back and talk to that 20-year-old version of yourself, what would you whisper in their ear? My answer, dream bigger. See, most people don't give themselves permission to dream, so their target is so nearsighted it doesn't feel big enough to make big decisions and move your life forward. You actually have to go way out there, dream bigger, and then aim for it. 2. Set your annual goals. Once you have that big vision, sit down and write 12 goals for the year. Write down 12 projects, outcomes, things you want to do with your life that if you accomplish, even if you only accomplish 7 or 8 of them, you know you're making progress. 3. Identify your one big domino. Here's the kicker. The next step is to circle the one goal that, if you got it done, every other goal would feel obsolete or not needed, or be a lot easier to attack. Then, I want you to write a list of projects that you must get done to accomplish that one goal. And here's the key: aggressively ignore the rest. That is how you execute the 95/5ths rule. How to stay in your 5%. This brings us to the question: how do you make sure you're doing the 5%? Today, I woke up, and my calendar is full of only the things that I not only love doing but that give me the most leverage on my time, which I'll share with you in a second. My dad had this really original quote he used to say: "If you love the work you do, you'll never work a day in your life." That's why I designed the drip matrix for myself and to teach my friends. The way it works is you evaluate all the things you could do through an X and Y axis. On one side, it's the things that light you up, that give you energy, that pump you up, that you look forward to doing. It might be creating with friends, it might be research, it might be writing, whatever lights you up and gives you energy. And the second axis is what makes you the most money. It has to make you money. Why? Because money is a resource, money is energy, money is a battery for storing value you can use in other things. Here's what's cool: your 5% is in the very top right corner of the drip matrix, in the production quadrant. It's the quadrant of the quadrant that you focus on. And for what it's worth, this may need to change as your life changes. Before I had kids, my life looked completely different. I used to be all about staying up late and getting a bunch of creative work done. Now my days are early. Why? I have human alarm clocks, I have little kids. I have to change and shift things. There were times when certain meetings were green, and I loved doing them. And then I realized, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't enjoy it. I don't even need to be here. There's no net new value of me being here. And guess what? I wasn't empowering my team to step up when I stayed in those things that used to be green. Now they're yellow, sometimes red. So I have to learn to let go and really self-evaluate where I'm focusing my time. As an example, one of my friends owns a dental clinic. He called me the other day: "Hey man, I need to restructure my life. I gotta understand this drip matrix." I asked him what was going on, and he explained the biggest challenge, his bottleneck, was that he didn't have enough staff. That's his 5%. Building a system for attracting, hiring, training, and retaining top staff is going to produce the biggest outcomes in his life. Everything else is just things that have to get done, but it's not going to move the needle. Focus there, and the way I keep the main thing is I put that in my calendar first in the morning. The first 90 minutes of every day is working on the project that's going to push everything else forward. Keeping it there until it's solved. Not getting bored with it. Not getting distracted. Being disciplined. Stay with the problem. See, I had this bad habit a long time ago where I used to get bored with problems. I moved on from them too quick, and they were never solved. The more I understood the 95/5ths rule, the more I realized that 5%, I gotta stay with it. I gotta do less. I shouldn't start another company. I should invest in another company. I shouldn't distract myself. Stay with it. What to do with the other 95% of your time? This brings us to the last question you're probably asking yourself. What do I do with the other 95% of my time? The best analogy I could give you is to think of yourself like a chef in a kitchen. The chef should only be doing the thing that actually makes the meal world-class. He's not sitting there cutting all the vegetables. He's not pre-cooking some of the proteins. He literally sits there, the top chef in a kitchen, and things are brought to him. He's done his mise en place. He sits there, does the work, and the plates go out of the kitchen perfect. You want to figure out how to get your life to the same place where you stay in that flow, you stay in that zone, and have people support you around you, even part-time, even friends, so you can keep creating and pushing your life forward. So that's what you do with the other 95%. Think of the 3 Ds. 1. Defer. Some stuff you want to do is just not a now thing. Understanding the right time for the right action is just as important as understanding what to do, because if you do something too soon, it's not valuable. So, postpone intentionally, not passively. You're allowed to defer things to next quarter, next year. Just make the decision. 2. Delete. I can't tell you how often I go through what I call a pruning process where I just look at stuff I'm currently doing and go, I'm just going to remove that. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove that. I did that for my morning routine. I used to be one of those guys that got up and had a very structured morning routine. And I was like, I wonder what would happen if I actually just woke up and started to work. Turned out really good. Now, do I recommend people start there? No, because they haven't built the discipline of execution. They don't even understand what that 5% is. They haven't built the muscle of actually just getting up and working. So, if you don't have a process to get ready for work and you're new to this, it'll hurt you. But deleting things, pruning things, is a powerful strategy. 3. Delegate. And this is why I always tell people to start with a part-time assistant, because most people are not good at this. Most people, when they ask somebody else to do something, it ends up not getting done the way they want it, and the person ends up getting involved, and it doesn't save them any more time because they don't know how to learn to let go. The way we do this is we have to hand off with clarity. Define what the definition of done looks like and practice delegating because it is an art. One of my core philosophies to really get more time back to focus on my 5% is to train, don't tell. See, if I'm telling everybody what to do, then I get stuck in this tell, check, next, doomed loop of always having people relying on me to get work done. Instead, I train them on how to think this way. That's why I create this content. It's for you, and it's for all the people on all my teams. When you learn to let go, you gotta be sure to train them on how you did it. A checklist is not enough. Some people are like, I have an SOP. Not enough. Role play with them. Teach them the mental models. Think about the first principles. How do you think about this? What are the frameworks you use? If you're mad that people are in a meeting and they're not contributing, have you ever taught them how to? And if you don't know how to train people, the good news is there's this really powerful, expensive tool that you might have heard of called ChatGPT. It's free. Use it. Now, I know choosing one thing is scary. What if you're wrong? Here's my promise. Picking something and putting as much effort and focus on it, learning, and getting feedback is always the winning move versus doing too many things and playing a game of whack-a-mole in the dark. It's like fighting an invisible monster. At least this way, you can eliminate things knowing they didn't work versus not knowing what's broken. So, what's your 5%? What's the one thing that would create a massive domino effect in your life right now?